Okay, guys, so welcome to the boring part. Now, you should be pretty confident with your ninja coding by now, because we're not going to look into like the basic stuff. And let's just have a look at the business logic very quickly. It's very simple, right? So it's just, set signal, which is just like three bars, in a row, and for the short, the other way around. Okay, that's all we do. And enter market is also very simple. So if we have an enter long signal and we have to be either long or flat, okay, so we either don't have a position or we have a long, we allow more entries, okay, and same for the short. And that's the whole business, okay. The course is about how to manage the orders properly, okay. So now the magic, all right, starts when we enter. Okay, let's have a look at this. So when we enter, we place a market order. Okay, but so first thing that we want to do, all right, before we place the order, we want to create our own position. Okay, um, and that's what we do here. Okay, so I created a class called my position that, so I have my own position, right? I don't care what Ninja has, okay, anymore for this because it's not going to do what I need to do. So I created my own position class and it holds all the orders. So it has the entry order. Okay. I don't really need this, to be honest. I don't need the price either, but you can add any other info you need about your particular position because you might want to manage it in 1,000 different ways, right? So this framework can actually allow you to take it to any other step further. So what I do want to know is I want to give my position an ID, okay? I want to know if it's long or short. I also want to know if it's open. I also want to know if I want to start trailing this position. I want to know its quantity. I also want to, and I want to keep all the orders inside. Okay, so my entry order, my 3 profit orders, and my stop order for this particular position because I'm going to manage it for this particular position individually for each particular position. Okay, so upon initialization, I actually create a list of my positions like this. Okay, and I also create a position ID counter that I'm going to be incrementing every time I create a position. So when I create, and I have a method right here which creates and returns a position. Okay, so this method, when I call it, it increments my position ID. When I create, next I create my position object and I put this ID to the position. Inside the position, I set it is open to true, is long is based on whatever I pass as a parameter, and my quantity equals just the sum of my 3 position sizes, which can be 0, by the way. I will talk about them being 0 later. And what happens next is I add this position to the list of my positions, and I return this position to whoever calls it. Okay. So now let's go and look. This method gets called only once when we enter. So when the market order is placed, this create new position method is called. Okay. So first of all, I create the position, and when I submit the order, I submit it to this position. Okay, so this position now, when I created it and I returned it using this method, it returned a link to this list that I have here and to this particular position in that list. So object-oriented programming, right? So this position now, I'm working with that particular link. So I'm saying, okay, guys, now you have an entry order. There it is. Submit and make it belong to this position inside my list. Okay, and that's what I'm doing. Right, so I'm submitting the order and I'm actually recording this order object to my list, to this particular position, no other position. Okay, now what you should also note here is this, and basically now when this code executes in state historical and we do this, the return happens immediately. So I assign it. So basically, if you step over the code, if you know what I mean, right? When this method is called, so this is a NinjaTrader method, submit order unmanaged. Okay, and when this gets called in a historical execution, the position gets created straight away. Now, in real time, however, it doesn't happen that way. When we call this method in real time, what happens is it will actually go to an execution event and call this, and it'll start getting filled, and then once it got filled, it could happen in a single go or in a few goes. So once it's filled, right, it will finish executing here and it will come back. Whilst it's executing, the position is null. When it finished executing, this is very important, guys. When it finished executing, it will actually create the position here and continue down to the code here. So you know that code can execute in a few different ways, right? So if we have, because you can see right here, it's calling this method, right? So it's calling that method, and it can go inside that method, do something there, and then come back and, you know, follow down and let the rest execute. Okay, so for the live execution, we have to do a trick. We have to manage orders after it has failed and created the position. So if for historical, we don't care. So it does this, and it just goes further down the on-bar update, and then it calls the on-execution update. Okay, after that, because that's when that's how it executes, and because it does it in such a fashion, when we start managing orders here, we already have a position, because we're going to be working with a position list here. Our position is going to be there already. But for the live, we can't do it. We have to finish executing first and then manage the orders. Okay, and that's why this trick here. So if it's an enter long or an enter short order that's executing, we do not allow it to pass to manage orders in real time. However, in historical execution, we don't care. It's fine. Go ahead and manage orders here. No problem. So, I hope that made sense. Anyway, let's look at this further down the track. So, I mean, and that's about all here. So our aim here is to create our position and put it in our list. And the takeaway is that for a historical execution, it's put in the list straight after you call this submit order unmanaged method. But for the live, it actually calls it and then goes into the on execution update, gets filled, comes back here. Okay, and you don't want to manage your orders until you're filled. Okay, so that's why we have this trick here that doesn't allow it to pass through to managing orders before it's filled, and we actually do it after it's filled right here. Okay, that's the trick, guys. Now the final trick inside this method is we actually want to count, and that's how you do it. We count how many positions are open, and if that count right? It's an int is bigger or equal to our max slots that we set. We return. We don't allow any more entries. Okay, that's the limiter for maximum scale lengths. Okay, guys. Now I'm going to continue with the order management, right? And I'll do that in my next video.